Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Israeli television journalist Tamar Ish-Shalom.
Honorable President of the University, Professor Asher Cohen, Honorable Rector, Professor Barak Medina, dear guests, welcome to the Hebrew University of Jerusalem's 2022 tribute to the recipients of Honorary Doctorates and the recipients of the Bublick and Rothberg prizes. My name is Tamar Ish-Shalom, and I am honored to be here today with you. How exciting is it that we are all here together again? After 3 years of not meeting face to face, we are once again holding this special flagship ceremony of the university as part of a beloved and long-standing tradition. This year, we are honoring 21 dignitaries who will be invited to take their place on this stage shortly. 21 scholars, creators, intellectuals, entrepreneurs, and philanthropists who in their actions seek to create a better society. They lead and are leaders with a driving force to make the world a better place and support the Hebrew University in its path to lead and realize the values they hold dear. But before that, I'm honored to invite to the dais the President of the University, Professor Asher Cohen, and the Rector of the University, Professor Barak Medina. The theme of this year's Board of Governors is Leadership for Tomorrow. President Shimon Peres, who was awarded an honorary doctorate on this very stage, once said about leadership, בתור מנהיג אתה יכול להיות קטן כמו האגו שלך, או גדול כמו המטרה שאתה משרת. As a leader, you can be as small as your ego or as big as the purpose you serve. Each and every one of today's recipients in their deeds, excellence, and determination, as are great as the purpose they serve. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the recipients of honorary doctorates and the Bublick and Rothberg prizes. Professor Chaim Be'er. Stanley Bergman. Rebecca Buchris. Professor Lee Epstein. Professor John Gager. Sigalit Landau. Professor Dr. Gerard Meyer. Jose Mugrabi. Joseph Neubauer. Leonid Nevzlin. Professor Yehoshua Reinhardt. Professor Jürgen Renn. Elliot Zaks, who will be accepting on behalf of his brother, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Zaks, Zichro Livracha. Sami Sagol. Professor Joshua Sains, Sylvia Soika, Quentin Tarantino, Professor Marta Weinstock-Rosine, and Rabbi Yuval Sherlo. Thank you so much to the wonderful and talented violinist Tanya Vineker. What a great pride it is to stand here and to see this stage full of such inspiring women and men. To share his opening remarks and officially open the ceremony, I'm honored to invite to the lectern the rector of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Professor Barak Medina.
Thank you, Tamar. Chairman of the Board of Governors, Mr. Dan Schlesinger, President of the Hebrew University, Professor Asher Cohen, Vice Presidents, Deans, members of the Board of Governors of the Hebrew University, guests, dear friends, and most importantly, recipients of honorary doctorate prizes, degrees and prizes. Welcome to the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. I would like to start by briefly sharing with you a famous Talmudic tale, an Agadah, that in several ways reflects our mission here at the Hebrew University. The story is about Rabbi Yitzchak ben Eliashiv. Rabbi Yitzchak had special powers, and in the story, his colleague, Rabbi Meni, asked of him all kinds of bizarre requests. My rich in-laws are persecuting me, he says, please make them poor. And Rabbi Yitzchak says, may they become poor, and they do. And then, once they become poor, they pressure Rabbi Meni for financial support, and so he asked Rabbi Yitzchak to make them rich again, and indeed, just by saying so, they become rich again. The strange requests continue with Rabbi Meni asking Rabbi Yitzchak that the wife of Rabbi Meni will grow beautiful, and after she does, he once again asks Rabbi Yitzchak to return her to her homely appearance and so forth. But then comes the surprising end. I'll say it first in Hebrew and then the translation in English. It says, שני תלמידים היו יושבים לפני רבי יצחק בן אלישיב, אמרו לו, יבקש אדוני רחמים עלינו שנחכים הרבה. אמר להם, אמי הייתה ושלחתיה. Two students who were sitting before Rabbi Yitzchak ben Eliashiv said to him, let the master pray for mercy on our behalf that we should become very wise. He said to them, this power which was with me, I sent it away. אמי הייתה ושלחתיה. At first, this ending seems puzzling. Rabbi Yitzchak agreed to use his unique powers for meaningless purposes and chose to give up his special powers altogether when asked to use them for a seemingly good cause, namely to make his students very wise. Why so? On one level, it is a story directed at students. A story about learning. Learning, becoming wise, is a process that each student should go through on their own with no shortcuts or miracles, as in the famous poem of Kawafis, The Road to Ithaca. As you set out for Ithaca, hope your road is a long one, full of adventure, full of discovery, and wisdom makes one face shine noted Ecclesiastes, Chochmat Adam Ta'ir Panav, because wisdom is achieved by taking the long road without shortcuts. But there is a message here to the rabbi too, to the teacher. It suggests that the study is not only in one direction, the teacher planting wisdom in the student's mind. Rather, study is a dialogue, a conversation, a process of synthesis. And this is an idea we should also remember in our role outside academia, in our position as public intellectuals. To throw away special powers, imi hayta ushlachtiha, does not mean avoiding the duty to participate in public discourse. What we should give up is the idea that one may impose his or her views on others based on her social status, be it a rabbi, a professor, or anyone who holds a public position. It is the duty to provide reasons, the duty to respect others by understanding their opinions and trying to prove them wrong. It is the duty to meaningfully engage in public discourse. And these are all aspects that have characterized us here at Hebrew University since it was established in 1925 and continue to be our aim for the next 100 years. It is the combination of extraordinary academic achievements together with hard work and commitment to be part of Israeli society, to improve our country, and to improve society in general. I would like to congratulate you, dear recipients of honorary degrees and prizes. And on behalf of us all here in this hall, I express our gratitude for your excellent contributions, each in her and his way. Many thanks for enhancing understanding of our world, for making it a better place, and for your ongoing special relations with us, the entire community of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Medina. Bless you. As it's been 3 years since we were together in this auditorium, that means that today we have a lot to celebrate. We did not sacrifice quality for quantity, and everyone celebrated today are top-notch. And we want to give each and every one of you, our honorees, your special moment. This year, we have divided the ceremony into 3 sections in order for each honoree to receive the deserved respect. Just before we award our honorees in the first group, let's get to know them through the eyes of the camera.
The Hebrew University is actually where my parents met. I, as a kid, grew up more or less in Givat Ram. My first job was in the Hebrew University in the archives, cutting newspapers and classifying, like, the newspaper. You know why it's funny? Because what you're looking at back here is all made of newspapers. There's a sculpture that I made in memory of my mother, and it's in Givat Ram, quite near where my parents met. That's why it's there.
אני חושב שהאוניברסיטה העברית בשבילי היא המיצוי המושלם ביותר של חזון הדעת היהודי.
I've taught at Princeton University for 40 years, but during those 40 years, on numerous occasions, I have taught at the Hebrew University. I've taught graduate seminars, I've taught undergraduate courses. I was a fellow at the Institute for Advanced Studies. The Hebrew University is, without a doubt, my second university.
From the moment I stepped foot on the Hebrew University campus, I knew I had found my intellectual home.
It has been incredibly meaningful to me, as well as our company, Henry Schein, to engage with Hebrew University, an institution we admire so deeply over the past several decades. Henry Schein and our family were founding benefactors of the Hebrew University Bridge to Peace program in 1997, which used the power of oral health to reach beyond political and religious divides while improving the quality of life for all people.
L'université hébraïque de Jérusalem est l'une des pierres angulaires de l'État d'Israël, car elle a toujours joué un rôle de premier plan dans le rayonnement et la réussite économique du pays.
My biggest or most important connection with the Hebrew University is with the Fritz Haber Center for Molecular Dynamics. This Fritz Haber Center for Molecular Dynamics was founded over 40 years ago, together by the Hebrew University and the Minerva Foundation, and has been a thriving center of excellence ever since. And I have been fortunate enough to be member of the Beirat, of say the advisory board of the Fritz Haber Center for over 15 years, where for over the last 10 years I've been served as chair.
One of my leading values, if not my leading value, is hard work. And I think add in a little intellectual curiosity.
החיים הם חידה, וכל אדם הוא חלק מהחידה הזאת. הניסיון שלי המתמשך הוא לאורך כל השנים לפענח את החידה הזאת. אם על ידי כתיבה, אם על ידי זה שלימדתי. אני מזוויות שונות, מכיוונים שונים, ניסיתי לפענח את החידה שהיא לא רק החידה הפרטית שלי. היא החידה של, הייתי אומר, ההוויה הלאומית.
The concept of Tikkun Olam, which encourages us to actively participate in improving the state of the world, was ingrained in my wife Marion and me as children, and we infused the values in our children. And from a business perspective, Henry Schein has embraced a commitment to doing well by doing good.
Une de mes principales valeurs, c'est l'honnêteté intellectuelle. Je dirais même scientifique honesty. Ce qui colle assez bien avec le fait qu'à la Fondation Adélis, nous aimons soutenir la science. Bien que je ne sois pas une scientifique venant du secteur bancaire, je suis une adepte des chiffres. Les chiffres ne mentent pas, comme la science.
Well, as a scholar of early Christianity and early Judaism, and in particular of the interaction between Jews and Christians and Jewish communities and Christian communities, the values that I have followed all through this have been hard, tough, critical questioning, examining given assumptions and seeing if they work, and if not, trying to come up with a better picture.
The value of building a bridge, of making things better. I like to find people who are like me, and I like to help people who help me to fix things that are broken.
One of my leading values is really that science should be there for the benefit of all.
אני נולדתי בירושלים. המשפחה שלי, משפחת אמי, הגיעה לירושלים לפני קרוב ל-200 שנה. מאז משפחתנו בעיקרה חיה בירושלים. והעיר הזאת היא חלק בלתי נפרד מעולמי, מחיי.
Notre lien avec Jérusalem est une connexion profonde avec cette terre imprégnée d'histoire et de culture juive depuis plus de 3000 ans. Pour nous, le sionisme, le retour vers Jérusalem, signifie que le peuple juif puisse vivre uni et en paix sur la terre d'Israël, afin de réaliser sa mission d'être une lumière pour les nations.
Well, whenever I have taught at the Hebrew University, I've lived in Jerusalem. So I think I know the city pretty well. I love the city, and I'm so eager to get back to see it again.
During my various visits to Jerusalem, I've always been fascinated, I'm still fascinated with the cultural heritage of the city.
I had taken a flight, I believe it was from New York to Tel Aviv, and I called my friend. I was meeting in Jerusalem that night for dinner, and she asked me if I was jet-lagged. It was a long flight, long trip, and I said, no. For some reason, I don't feel jet-lagged at all. I'm so excited to come to Jerusalem and meet you. And her response to me was exactly right. Of course you're not jet-lagged. You're home.
I was born in Jerusalem, raised in Jerusalem. I know Jerusalem of the 70s, 80s, 90s. Everybody knows that I'm a Jerusalemite.
I hope that my research helps make the world a better place by educating the public about judges and their judicial system on the one side, and also trying to educate judges, in a sense, about what they're doing, and maybe, if I'm lucky, about how they can do their jobs a little better.
אני מקווה שהספרים שלי ניסו להבהיר לאנשים קצת יותר להבין את עצמם, להבין את עולמם, ואם הצלחתי לעזור לאנשים להבין את עצמם דרכי, דרך מה שאני כתבתי יותר טוב, אני חושב שזה הרבה מאוד.
La philanthropie œuvre pour construire un monde meilleur. L'action de la Fondation Adélis est répartie dans 3 domaines: la recherche scientifique et médicale, l'éducation et le bien-être social. Nous concentrons nos efforts dans la recherche scientifique parce que c'est la science qui change la vie des hommes et qui contribue au bien-être de l'humanité.
One of my goals in all of my work has been to say, listen, the picture that the Christians developed of Jews and Judaism in the early centuries is a hostile picture. And my job has been to draw a different picture, to say that the relations between Jews and Christians were not always negative. My work has focused on asking hard questions and coming up with new answers.
We certainly think we contribute on a low level to a better understanding of molecules and molecular physics and molecular dynamics in particular. But we also want to make it a better place by training excellent young people as independent, creative thinkers, people that will play an important role in the future of the various societies and that will shape the future and will shape the world.
I think in everything I do there's complexity. It's not black and white. It's always multi-layered and very, very humane. If hope can come across together with beauty and with some kind of bold steps, I want to be that.
I am honored to invite the President and the Rector to the stage to bestow the awards upon our honorees. I am honored to invite Professor Chaim Be'er to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor Chaim Be'er in recognition of his tremendous contributions to Hebrew literature, with the deepest appreciation for his original, inquisitive, and visionary voice, succinctly and memorably expressed in his award-winning works of literature, for providing Israel with a new era in modern Hebrew literature whose groundbreaking style bridges the secular and the religious, and in deepest gratitude for his generous service to the Hebrew University of Jerusalem as a guest lecturer in the Department of Hebrew Literature, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor of Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto, conferred in Jerusalem on this 13th day of June, 2022. And now the President and the Rector will award Professor Chaim Be'er with a medallion and a scroll. Thank you, Professor Be'er. I am honored to invite Mr. Stanley Bergman to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Stanley M. Bergman in acknowledgement of his strong commitment to the State of Israel, the Jewish community, educational initiatives, and cultural diversity. In admiration of his professional achievement as the CEO and chairman of the board of Henry Schein Incorporated, in recognition of his contributions to the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, particularly within the Faculty of Dental Medicine, and his Bridge to Peace initiative to provide prevention and treatment to patients with special needs, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Mr. Stanley Bergman with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Mr. Bergman. I am honored to invite Ms. Rebecca Buchris to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Rebecca Buchris, recognizing her successful career as a banker with the Rothschild Group, honoring her close working relations and warm friendship with André Cohen de Lauro, Zichro Livracha, with whom she shared a Zionist vision. In tribute to her steadfast role in the Adelis Foundation, advancing Israeli science while benefiting humankind, and with deep gratitude for her partnership with the Hebrew University in establishing the André Cohen de Lauro Building for Computational Medicine within the Faculty of Medicine, by conferring upon her the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Ms. Rebecca Buchris with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Ms. Buchris. I am honored to invite Professor Lee Epstein to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor Lee Epstein in recognition of her outstanding achievements as one of the world's leading scholars of law and legal institutions, in acknowledgement of her enormous contributions as a pioneer of empirical legal research, developing the main theoretical and empirical models of judicial decision-making, and with the deepest appreciation for her long-standing connection with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem through her collaborations with scholars at the Faculty of Law, by conferring upon her the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Professor Lee Epstein with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Professor Epstein. I am honored to invite Professor John Gager to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor John G. Gager in recognition of his landmark contributions as a leading scholar of early Christianity and its relationship with Judaism, in acknowledgement of his scholarly commitment to historical veracity and the rethinking of the nature of ancient anti-Semitism, and in deepest gratitude for his ongoing commitment to the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, most notably his contribution to the transformation of the Faculty of Humanities and the establishment of the Cornerstone Program, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now, the President and the Rector will award Professor John Gager with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Professor Gager. I am honored to invite Ms. Sigalit Landau to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Sigalit Ethel Landau in appreciation of her excellent accomplishments in the local and global art scenes, for her multidisciplinary works of art, which are both universal and rooted in the local Israeli landscape, for raising poignant questions about ecology, politics, identity, humanity, memory, and pain, and in recognition of her inspiring representation of Israel on the world art stage, by conferring upon her the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now, the President and the Rector will award Sigalit Landau with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Ms. Landau. I am honored to invite Professor Dr. Gerard Meyer to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor Dr. Gerard Meyer in honor of his groundbreaking contributions to the field of molecular physics, for his innovative methods for the manipulation and study of gas molecules, in appreciation of his resolute leadership within the global scientific communities, devoting himself to fostering international scientific partnerships, for his steadfast support of the creation of secure, open-access scientific publications, and with deep gratitude for his strong ties with the Hebrew University through his involvement at the Fritz Haber Center for Molecular Dynamics at the Institute of Chemistry, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Professor Dr. Gerard Meyer with a medallion and a scroll. Thank you, Professor Dr. Meyer. Thank you, Professors Cohen and Medina. You may return to your seats. The Voca People is an Israeli musical comedy ensemble that combines a cappella singing with beatbox art. When they started their journey at some point in 2009 with a short video that broke the internet, The History of Music in 3 minutes, they did not imagine how far they would go. The director and producer is Lior Khalfon, and the manager and musical arranger is Shai Fishman. Let's get the Voca People on stage with their most famous piece, The History of Music.
Ideo. Ideo. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. If you know where to do, don't you know where to see? Don't come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Don't come back no Round, round, get around, I get around. Get around, round, round, I get around. I get money. Can't buy love, love. Everybody tells me so. Can't buy love, love. No, 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 no. If you change your mind, I'm the first in line. Honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. If you need me, let me know. Gonna be around. If you got no place to go, feeling down. Down around the corner, half of my phobia. You see them both be gone. Watch them disappear. You know, love, love, mama, love. Where would you be now? You know, love. Bow, 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 bow. You say love, take your time, come on, celebrate, come on, holiday, Shimona, Billie Jean is not my lover. She's just a girl who claims that I am the one. But the kid is not my son. Hey, Macarena. I've been married long time ago. Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Joe? Kiss me, baby, one more more time. Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Everybody dance now. Switch. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Many thanks to the members of VOCA people. Don't worry, we will see them again soon. And now let's get to know 8 more honorary doctorate recipients. Let's hear how they reacted when we put them to the test.
Hebrew University is a very special place for me. I was born in Palestine. Israel didn't exist at the time that I was born there. And Hebrew University was always the mecca of knowledge and education in Israel.
Well, I have close ties to the Hebrew University. I've been a collaborator of the collected papers of Albert Einstein, and I was a guest professor in Israel in the early 90s to work on Einstein's legacy, preserved by the Hebrew University.
Сам по себе университет является лидирующим еврейским или израильским университетом, и это очень большое, важное научное и учебное заведение. И мы тогда решили, вернее, я решил, меня поддержали, открыть Центр изучения российского и русскоязычного и восточноевропейского еврейства, Центр Невзлина называется, в Еврейском университете в Иерусалиме.
Well, I'm Jewish, of course, but haven't really had a lot of connection to Israel during my life, and my association with Hebrew University has provided that connection and provided me with a way to make some small contribution to Israel and particularly to Israeli science.
My personal experience with Hebrew University was when I was in the army, and the Hebrew University had a division inside Tel Aviv University, teaching economics and business administration.
I heard about the university many years ago, but unfortunately I didn't study. I went early to work, and I find it very interesting to me because imagine Jose Mugrabi, no study, to be close to Einstein. I think this is the biggest pleasure to me.
I came to Israel in 1969 to first explore some ideas I had about my dissertation, and met some of the great scholars at the Hebrew University, and became a friend, I can say, of all of these people. And I've come back in different guises to the Hebrew University.
My father, encouraged by his father, was actually a student at the university in 1937-38. He later reconnected through the Canadian Friends. My son Mark Adam and I came on our first visit in 2010. It was an eye-opening experience, truly inspiring. Meanwhile, 3 months later, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. 6 months later, he was dead. That was the beginning of my real relationship with the university. I conceived of an international and collaborative research program in pancreatic cancer that would include a team from the IMRIC researchers who had so impressed me on my visit.
One of my leading values is universality, meaning the equality of all human beings, mutual respect for each other, and also for common goods. Chief among them, the living conditions of humans on Earth.
One of our key values is that education is the key to life that benefits not only you but also society. And we also think that education can lift trajectory for minorities all over the world.
I believe fervently in kindness, compassion, and generosity, of spirit always. I think that in this world, we have to take care of one another and to contribute in whatever way we can.
Well, I'm a scientist, and really my entire adult life has revolved around science and my family, not necessarily in that order, but they've provided me with a gratifying and full life, and I guess the value is to do my best, serving science and helping my family.
I like to work I like to create in what I'm doing, to be with principle, to create better things in life.
I have a passion for the Jewish people. I've taught Jewish history for many, many years. And as the president of Ben University, I created 17 centers, many of which deal with issues that are of importance, of interest to the Jewish communities.
Основные values, мои leading values – это быть евреем, свободным евреем, быть свободным человеком worldwide, исповедовать принципы либерализма, принципы гуманизма и принципы демократии.
Jerusalem represents, for me, the renaissance of the Jewish people and of Israel. It's a place that's very dear to me, to my family.
My connection to Jerusalem started when I was a kid. I also remember the first time that I traveled to Jerusalem when I was 14 and a half years old, and seeing all the tanks and the armaments and everything else on the road. And we were just there a few months ago and saw the new rail line that goes from Tel Aviv there. And this is all in one lifetime.
Jerusalem is a dream because we have a small prayer to say next year will be in Jerusalem. So this is a dream coming true.
My connection to Jerusalem is really through Hebrew University and primarily the Safra Center at Hebrew University. I knew for a long time about the excellence of neuroscience at the university. And when the Safra Center was inaugurated, I had the honor to be asked to join the advisory board and then for the last 10 years to chair it.
My connection to Jerusalem is undeniably spiritual. Something warms and moves inside me when I see the sun gleam on the gold dome and the Jerusalem stone absorb the light of the setting sun.
Jerusalem has been always my dream city. I studied ancient Hebrew in school and became fascinated by the ancient history of Jerusalem. And then, as it turned out, in the 1990s, Jerusalem became my hometown for almost a year.
Вот. Я очень люблю Иерусалим. Я часто бываю в Иерусалиме. Вот. И для меня является обычаем перед каждым важным событием поехать и, ну скажем, помолиться у Стены плача, Western Wall.
If you have education and you know a little bit about history, you know about civic values, you know a little bit about technology, you can solve almost any problem between two people. That's why it's important to us to educate people all the way from kindergarten and first grade, all the way through the PhD program, and then the faculty.
Like most biologists, I hope that what we learn in the laboratory will contribute eventually to improved human health.
Well, I can only say one strives to contribute. History of science is no field with immediate applications, but it may be considered as a resource of reflection on our predicament and also on the role of science.
Я закончил свою бизнес-карьеру, я закончил свою карьеру общественно-политическую, я решил посвятить себя до конца вопросам гуманитарного свободного образования. И я вижу целью своей жизни, в том числе, возврат Израиля к демократии и либерализму.
I really consider what I do at the Mandel Foundation much more important than my research. I feel that my research and my current activities merge, that my knowledge, to the extent that I have that knowledge in Jewish history, and what I do now sort of merge. And in that sense, I feel very good about what we do.
Since we began the Alex Yusoika International Pancreatic Research Project in 2014, the 5-year survival rate for the disease has increased from 5 to 9%. With the collaboration of the Ontario Institute for Cancer Research in Toronto and a team from Sheba Medical Center in Tel Aviv, we gathered and connected dedicated and talented researchers who have been working primarily on targeted therapies and early detection.
As a retired businessman, finishing a career of 50 plus years in business, the next career was to create opportunities for young people to experience a better world than our world, I dedicated our family philanthropy into enabling young people to go and study and research and discover new fields into making the world a better place.
I am honored to invite the President and the Rector to take their places back on stage. I am honored to invite Mr. Jose Mugrabi to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Jose Mugrabi, honoring his deep roots in the city of Jerusalem, where he was born and raised, in recognition of his hard-earned ascent and success in the textile business in Colombia, in tribute to his decades-long involvement in the art world, resulting in a significant collection, and with deep gratitude for his partnership with the Hebrew University in establishing the Einstein House, which will promote and share Albert Einstein's legacy with the public and academic communities in Israel and abroad, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Mr. Jose Mugrabi with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Mr. Mugrabi. I'm honored to invite Mr. Joseph Neubauer to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Joseph Neubauer in recognition of his ardent support of higher education, which has influenced the lives and careers of countless young people, in admiration of his considerable professional achievements as CEO of ARA, and in profound appreciation of his many years of devoted service to the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, primarily through the Neubauer Family Foundation of Philadelphia, which provides grants to ensure that the next generation of Hebrew University faculty and students reflect the diversity of Israel, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now, the President and the Rector will award Mr. Joseph Neubauer with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Mr. Neubauer. I am honored to invite Mr. Leonid Nevzlin to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Leonid Nevzlin in recognition of his success as an Israeli publisher, in tribute to his establishment of the Nadav Foundation and reimagining the future of the Museum of the Jewish People, where he is a founding chair, in tribute to his sterling example of philanthropy, both personally and through several of his nonprofit organizations, to support various projects in the field of education and health, in appreciation of his deep connection to the Hebrew University, where over the years he has made significant contributions to promote research and study in the fields of Russian Jewish history. By conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Mr. Leonid Nevzlin with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Mr. Nevzlin. I am honored to invite Professor Yehuda Reinhardt to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor Yehuda Reinhardt in recognition of his landmark achievements in academia and the study of modern Jewish history, honoring his publication of more than 100 articles and 31 books, including a 2-volume biography of Israel's first president, Chaim Weizmann. In acknowledgement of his outstanding contributions as president of Brandeis University, which he transformed through an extraordinary campus-wide expansion and unprecedented fundraising. For his role as the president and CEO of the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Foundation, and in deepest gratitude for his close ties with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and his critical role in the establishment and continuous support of the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel School for Advanced Studies at the Hebrew University Faculty of Humanities, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now, the President and Rector will award Professor Yehuda Reinhardt with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Professor Reinhardt. I am honored to invite Professor Jürgen Renn to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor Jürgen Renn in appreciation for his extensive and remarkable contributions to the study of the history of science, specifically his groundbreaking work on Albert Einstein's papers. In recognition of his close and collaborative friendship with the Hebrew University and its scholars, including the co-authorship of 3 books on Einstein, and for his visionary leadership in the global scientific community and the creation of open-source archives of historic scientific sources, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Professor Jürgen Renn with the medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Professor Renn. I am honored to invite Mr. Sami Sagol to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Sami Sagol in recognition of his steadfast commitment to and investment in Israeli industry, in honor of his remarkable business achievements and contributions to the Israeli economy, with appreciation for the generous opportunities he provides for children and youngsters living in Israel's periphery, and with the deepest gratitude for the establishment of the Sagol Program for Computational Medicine at the Faculty of Medicine at the Hebrew University, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now, the President and the Rector will award Mr. Sami Sagol with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Mr. Sagol. I am honored to invite Professor Joshua Sains to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor Joshua R. Sains in acknowledgement of his scientific leadership and cutting-edge contributions to the fields of molecular and cellular biology, for his groundbreaking research in understanding brain disorders, in recognition of the creation of the brain-bow mouse, which yields high-quality, vivid images of brain activity, and in appreciation of his long-standing relationship with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, particularly in establishing and contributing to the academic success of the Edmond and Lili Safra Center for Brain Sciences and his service as head of its International Steering Committee since 2013. By conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Professor Joshua Sains with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Professor Sains. I am honored to invite Ms. Sylvia Soika to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Sylvia Soika in honor of her successful career as a business executive and her mentoring of professional women, in recognition of her family's historical ties with the Hebrew University and in tribute to her loving devotion to her parents' memory, with appreciation for her lifelong friendship with the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University, with deep gratitude for her generous support of the Alex U. Soika Pancreatic Cancer Research Project and other programs, and for instilling the value of giving in the next generation, by conferring upon her the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Ms. Sylvia Soika with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Ms. Soika. I am honored to invite Mr. Quentin Tarantino to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Quentin Tarantino in recognition of his critically acclaimed cinematic success as a writer, director, and actor, honoring his 10 blockbuster movies and numerous Academy Awards, BAFTA Awards, Golden Globe Awards, and the Pandora Award, in admiration of the scope of his artistic vision, creating films that span genres, historical periods, and themes, and in tribute to his strong ties to Israel through his wife Daniela, and for making Israel his second home by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and Director will award Mr. Quentin Tarantino with a medallion and the scroll. Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. Thank you, Professors Cohen and Medina. You may return to your seats. We have reached the third part of this ceremony. At this point, we will now award a doctorate in honor of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs of blessed memory, who is represented here today by his brother, Mr. Elliot Sachs. Here is a short film about the late Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs.
Through his writings, sermons, and broadcasts, Rabbi Sachs touched the lives of countless people with his unfailing wisdom, with his profound sanity, and with a moral conviction, which, in a confused and confusing world, was all too rare.
On the 8th of March 1948, Jonathan Sachs was born in London to parents who instilled in him the values that would mark out the template of his life: concern for members of his community, aspiration for knowledge, love of culture, and fierce pride in being Jewish. Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs sought to demonstrate how the best of Western thought could enhance our understanding of Judaism and how Jewish values could help to repair the fractures in our society. For 22 years as Chief Rabbi of Great Britain and the Commonwealth, and in the years that followed, Rabbi Sachs's impact was felt far beyond the Jewish community. Advisor and friend to global leaders, he was a moral voice in the modern world, teaching the dignity of difference and the power that faith communities can achieve when they work together.
The nation is strong when it cares for the weak, that it becomes rich when it cares for the poor. It becomes invulnerable when it cares about the vulnerable. That is what makes great nations.
As a teacher of Torah, he was profoundly admired and deeply respected. Penning 40 books in his lifetime, publishing the first new translation and commentary of the Siddur in a generation, and creating a full suite of commentaries on the weekly Torah reading, he was as prolific as he was insightful.
I want to say to Jews around the world, take it, cherish it, learn to understand and to love it. Carry it, and it will carry you. And may you, in turn, pass it on to future generations. For you are a member of an eternal people, a letter in their scroll. Let their eternity live on in you.
A leader of leaders, his personality, sense of humor, and an extraordinary gift of public speaking came together in complete harmony. He was regarded at the highest level on whichever stage he stood, and left behind words and teachings that will be his everlasting legacy.
We need to restate the moral and spiritual dimensions in the language of the 21st century to inspire, to give hope, and to unite.
After his passing, the Rabbi Sachs Legacy Trust was established to promote the timeless and universal wisdom of Rabbi Sachs as a teacher of Torah, a moral voice, and a leader of leaders.
It's hard to lead a nation of individuals, but this is the most challenging, empowering, inspiring leadership of all.
I am honored to invite the President and the Rector to take their places back on stage. I am honored to invite Mr. Elliot Sachs, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs's brother, to join the President and the Rector. The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks Zichrono Livracha in recognition of his bold leadership of the Jewish community in the United Kingdom, in honor of his steadfast devotion to knowledge, publishing, and speaking extensively on a wide range of liturgical and spiritual topics, for drawing upon the Torah to illuminate contemporary life, for building bridges with other communities of faith, with gratitude for his relentless public stance for equality and humanistic values and against anti-Semitism and other forms of racism, and with a deep appreciation for his lifelong dedication to the Jewish people by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophia Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto. And now the President and the Rector will award Mr. Elliot Sacks with a medallion and the scroll in honor of Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks. Thank you, Mr. Sacks, and thank you, Professors Cohen and Medina. You may return to your seats. We will now watch a film featuring our remaining honorary doctorates who could not be here in person and our Bublick and Rothberg Prize winners. Professor Lottie Bailey was not able to come to Israel this year, so we filmed her receiving the honorary doctorate and medallion at her home. Here she is.
So the Hebrew University is, of course, one of the world's most important intellectual centers. I think it stands for intellectual tenacity, great sense of importance culturally to both Israel and the entire region, and in fact, the world.
Well, it's a great university, and it has produced great scientists and scholars, but my personal relationship to it is indirect, mainly through the people there.
I see it as a crown of Jerusalem, because it's really an institute with a lot of vision, a lot of horizons that it's opening, scientific, but especially in my field, regarding philosophy. And I'm very happy that Jerusalem has such a good university up there.
As a value, I value honesty, but my greatest joy I get from my family. And I always say to them, remember, no matter how clever you are, how many papers you publish, and what you do, the only thing you really leave behind you are wonderful children and grandchildren.
As a scientist, I think one of the most important values that we can give to our students and our mentees is a combination of passion for what we're doing and for the scientific research that we do, and compassion for them as trainees.
One of my leading values is ethics, to try to find the connection and the cooperation between ethical life and religion, faith, and being observers.
I think compassion would be near the top, empathy and equity for all peoples in the world. Well, my connection with Jerusalem is really through my husband, who has worked with Yad HaNadiv, and particularly as they were setting up the Institute of Advanced Studies at the Hebrew University. And so we had some really wonderful visits in Jerusalem.
First of all, I love this town. The air, the vision, everything that you see there in Jerusalem is lovely. But it's important for me because it's also the capital of Israel, and the most important institutes are in Jerusalem. But the most important thing for me in Jerusalem is the core, the heart, the Temple Mountain that I'm very connected to through my religion, through my searching for the connection with God, with Hashem.
Sarah and I were invited to the Hebrew University in 1998, and we spent a lovely week in Jerusalem. As first-time visitors to Israel, we were struck by the dynamism of Jerusalem and by its unfathomable mysteries as we wandered through the old town.
My research consisted of several different projects. The one that contributed directly to making it a better world for some people was the drug I developed for treating patients with Alzheimer's disease. I think one of the greatest feelings of satisfaction I had when I began to have letters from people all over the world telling me how much this drug had helped them.
I'm actually educating the next generation and trying to make my students and other students and better citizens and residents and people in the world. But I dedicate a lot of my time for public work and to make this world better, humanity and religion and ethics.
So our research concerns how plants recognize and respond to infection by fungal pathogens and bacterial pathogens. Worldwide, we lose approximately 30% of each year's harvest to pests and pathogens. So understanding the molecular mechanisms of the plant immune system will save us, in the end, a lot of land, because we won't need to plant on extra land to make up for the losses that we currently live through due to pests and pathogens.
Well, we were very interested always, my work and my group, on gender equity. And our emphasis was particularly on changing norms and practices in the workplace and the design of work that will make it easier for women to take care of their families as well as be productive in the economy. And we hope that we have made a few inroads in helping organizations.
Don't go into research unless you have a driving curiosity. It's the wanting to know which is more important than how much credit you will get, how much money you will get. You have to enjoy it because it's a very frustrating process. But believe me, if you're successful, it beats quite a lot of other things.
These were, of course, our remaining honorary doctorates and the Bublick and Rothberg Prize winners. Professor Lotte Bailing, who was not able to come to Israel this year, is joining us from home.
The Senate of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor Lotte Bailing in honor of her lifelong commitment to the study of working women, for radically reframing our perceptions of professional and personal demands placed upon working women, in deep appreciation of her unwavering call for gender equity in the workplace, specifically in academia and corporate culture, in gratitude for advocacy on behalf of working women through organizational solutions, advisory boards, professional committees, and for being an exemplar for professional women everywhere. By conferring this degree upon you, the Doctor of Philosophy, honoris causa, I present you with this from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem.
Professor Jeffrey Dangle was also unable to come to Israel, so we had the honor of visiting him at his home. Please enjoy the visit.
The Synod of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resolved to pay tribute to Professor Jeffrey Dangle. In recognition of his seminal and sustained contributions to the discipline of molecular plant pathology, in acknowledgement of his breakthrough that showed that plants have an immune system that shares basic organizational principles with mammals, in credit for his development of the groundbreaking zigzag model and guard hypothesis, leading to a coherent definition of the plant immune system, and in appreciation of his long-standing relationship with the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, particularly through his collaboration with researchers at the Alexander Silverman Institute of Life Sciences and at the Robert H. Smith Faculty of Agriculture, Food, and Environment, by conferring upon him the degree of Doctor Philosophiae Honoris Causa of the Hebrew University of Jerusalem and all the rights and privileges pertaining thereto, conferred in Jerusalem on this 13th day of June, 2022.
I'm honored to invite the president and the rector to take their places back on stage. I'm honored to invite Professor Marta Weinstock-Rosin to join the president and the rector for the awarding of the Solomon Bublick Prize. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem pays tribute to Professor Marta Weinstock-Rosin, honoring her seminal contribution to the field of human health by developing a drug for Alzheimer's disease. In recognition of her pharmaceutical and medical discoveries, especially the studies on delaying the development and progress of the degenerative disease, in appreciation for her years of leadership among the Hebrew University community as an outstanding researcher and teacher, training generations of medical and pharmacology students and researchers, and in tribute to having been bestowed the university's K Innovation Award and the Israel Prize for Medicine, and awards her the Solomon Bublick Prize for 2022. And now the president and the rector will award Professor Marta Weinstock-Rosin with a scroll and prize. Thank you, Professor Weinstock-Rosin. I am honored to invite Rabbi Yuval Sherlo to join the president and director for the awarding of the Samuel Rothberg Prize. The Hebrew University of Jerusalem pays tribute to Rabbi Yuval Sherlow with appreciation for his life's work as an educator, instilling generations with love of their fellow humans and love of the people of Israel. With the deepest gratitude for building bridges and bringing together Israelis from across the religious secular spectrum, including the co-founding of Tzohar and Yeshivat Orot Shaul, for being a voice of religious moderation and nuance, and considering religious questions in light of ethical imperatives, and for leading the religious Zionist community in maintaining tradition in the modern era, and awards him the Samuel Rothberg Prize for Jewish Education for 2022. And now the President and the Rector will award Rabbi Yuval Sherlow with a scroll and prize. Thank you, Rabbi Sherlow. Many thanks to all the recipients of the Honorary Doctorates and the Bublick and Rothberg Prize winners. We're not parting just yet, as we have another piece by the Voca people. You might recognize this piece as it was the opening to many of the greatest movies of all time. And there is at least one person here in the hall whose work is remembered in their performance. Voca people, please.
Hello.
Hey up.
Hello.
James Bond.
se balanceó, cambió.
Thank you, VOCA people. Congratulations to all our honorary doctorates and prize winners. Mazal tov. Now, I would like to invite all of the honorees to rise and go to the front of the stage for a group photograph. Dear guests, thank you very much for your attention and for being here with us. We will now make our way to the graduation ceremony at the Rothberg Amphitheater. And let's celebrate with honorees with a standing ovation. Thank you very much to you all.